Welcome to the Berkeley Charleston Dorchester Council of Governments Air Quality Coalition meeting. We appreciate everyone coming. We have a good meeting today with some great, interesting talks, so we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to ask everyone to just introduce themselves, and I'll do that in the order that you are on my screen because I don't know any other way to do it. So, Charles, if you would start us off.
Okay, Charles Ackland, Mayor of Harleyville.
And Jennifer Hawthorne.
Good morning. Sorry, I was turning everything down. Jennifer from Nucor Berkeley. I work in the environmental department.
Welcome. John Brooker.
Hey, John Brooker here with Conservation Voters of South Carolina.
Welcome. Amy.
Okay. I'm Amy Kern from South Carolina DHEC, and also have in here with me Renee Madden. So we have our mask on during the meeting since we're in the room together.
Welcome, ladies. Lane.
Lane Morgan, Berkeley Chamber and Berkeley COG Board.
Welcome, Elaine. Elizabeth.
Elizabeth Tucker from Waccamaw Regional Council of Governments.
Glad to have you here. Mackenzie.
Hi, my name is Mackenzie Kelly. I'm with Charles. I'm the pavement manager overseeing the resurfacing program.
Can't wait for your talk, Mackenzie.
Thank you.
Daryl.
I'm actually Dan Newquist, but I am unable to change my screen name here for whatever reason. But yeah, I'm Elizabeth's colleague at the Waccamaw Regional Council of Governments. We've had an air quality program in the past and appreciate the invitation today to hopefully kind of spark some new ideas for our program. So thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. Glad to have you. Eileen.
Hi, good morning. I'm Eileen Duffy with North Charleston Planning.
Welcome. Stephanie. Oh.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Rossi with the Low Country Council of Governments. Like Waccamaw, we're just here to learn about what process you guys do for your area. I'm new to the Low Country region. Thank you.
Okay. Welcome. Ken.
Hey, good morning. I'm Ken Holton. I'm with Pavement Technology, and I was trying to change my screen name too, so sorry about that. Last name's Holton. I'm here. Mackenzie asked me to join her, and we're going to do a little presentation for y'all.
Excellent. I have somebody that says Conference 215.
Hey, this is Mark Messersmith with South Carolina Ports Authority. My name is not Conf 215.
Hi, Mark. Welcome. Jeremy.
Hi, good morning. I'm Jeremy Bocher, a senior engineer with Terracon, here on behalf of Andy Rucco. I appreciate the invite and look forward to hearing some good presentations today.
Great. Daryl. Daryl Elliott. You guys jumped around on me a little bit, so if I'm calling you again.
That was me. Yeah, sorry.
Ingman Hodge.
Yeah, I'm with Meridian Energy and Environment.
Okay.
This is my first time joining, so nice to meet y'all.
Nice to meet you too. Kristen is with us from the BCD COG. I'm going to go ahead and introduce her because her mic's not working. Talon?
Yes, Talon Wagon Connect. I'm on the Berkeley County Chamber Board as well as with SNME. I'm the operations manager. Happy to be here.
Welcome. Jeff Hayjack.
Hey, I'm Jeff Hayjack with the City of Hanahan.
Brian.
Hey, good morning. It's Brian Burdell with Santee Cooper. Looking forward to talking to you all about our solar plans in the future and what we've been doing.
Excellent. Trey. Nope, Trey might not be. Sarah, are you available to say hello? Sarah's also from the BCD COG. She may not have a mic. They're at their desk today, so I don't have to wear a mask. Sydney Jackson.
Hey, yes, I'm Sydney Jackson with Cooper River Partners at the Charleston International Manufacturing Center.
Welcome. Did I miss anybody? I think I may have missed A. Art May. I'm not sure who that might be, but oh, it looks like Trey signing in on a phone so that they can talk. Okay. We're going to go ahead and get started. Our first presentation today is Air Quality Threats and Opportunities in SC Policy. And that is with John Brooker from the Conservation Voters. John, take it away.
Thanks, everybody. Happy to talk to you today. I have a short presentation I'm going to pull up real quick. All right, can you all see that?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so my name is John Brooker. I'm the Energy Project Manager with Conservation Voters of South Carolina. And I'm just gonna talk about what's in the legislature right now and some things that touch on air quality. Just a little bit of background on Conservation Voters of South Carolina. We work towards conservation with political action. We're a 501c3 and a C4 with a PAC. And we're a bipartisan, pragmatic, and we like to say effective institution. So what's happening at the State House? The first thing I wanted to share with you is about incineration, pyrolysis, and advanced recycling. I'm sure some of you might be familiar, but right now, the main bill that we're tracking is S525, a bill on pyrolysis. So if you're not familiar, pyrolysis is kind of an emerging industry where you melt plastics, waste plastics, at very high temperatures, and best case scenario, you can make fuels out of that. And what this bill does is it doesn't allow pyrolysis. Pyrolysis is actually already allowed in South Carolina. You can apply for a permit. But what it does is it reclassifies pyrolysis under South Carolina law so that it's exempt from certain solid waste regulations, specifically financial assurances. So basically what that means is that they don't have to put money down. They don't have to follow other DHEC solid waste regulations in pyrolysis facilities. And that kind of sets up a risky situation for public health, environmental health, financial risk. We've kind of seen this similar story where people playing outside of the rules get in trouble with some fires and disasters in Chester and Jasper counties. Yeah, so S525 is that active Senate bill on pyrolysis, looking to reclassify it outside of the regulations. And then there's also a House bill on incineration, which is different from pyrolysis. But we don't foresee that moving very much. So it's not very active, but we're still monitoring that. So that's pyrolysis. And you guys are more than welcome to jump in with any questions along the way. The next thing I have, which Brian might be interested in, is there are some bills for Santee Cooper sale and reform. There's two pieces of legislation in particular that we're watching that are in Senate committee. And the reason this matters towards air quality is the management of utility and the generation assets will have a major impact on emissions from a climate and air quality perspective. I'm sure Brian will get more into that. But yeah, so there's a large amount of coal-fired generation for the state owned by Santee Cooper across in Winyah. And our organization, as well as the Greater Conservation Coalition, are pushing for clean energy, a clean energy commitment in all these pieces of legislation, regardless of if it's a sale or reform situation. Other things that are going on, which you might be familiar with, there is a proposal for net metering that Dominion Energy of South Carolina put out. And this is not a very solar-friendly proposal. It adds additional fees for residential solar customers and it reduces compensation for what they put back on the grid, which is what is termed net metering. And so it really adjusts kind of the long-term economics of putting solar on your roof. So this is a residential proposal. And so this is something that's happening at the Public Service Commission right now. They're having evidentiary hearings. There's going to be public hearings in March, and then at some point after that, they'll make a decision on that and kind of approve, reject, or modify Dominion's proposal. More energy stuff. So Dominion also just submitted a modified IRP. So integrated resource plan is basically like a very large, intense plan looking at what generation assets they foresee and what what levels of consumption they're looking to forecast as a utility. So they're seeing how much energy do we need to produce, how much are consumers going to use. And the original plan Dominion filed was rejected back in December by the Public Service Commission. And they recently filed a new plan that plans to retire coal plants by 2030. So that's an ambitious plan. We're happy to see that. Kind of the flip side to that coin is that there is going to be a lot of reliance on natural gas in that plan. So we see it as there's some good things in this plan and some bad things in this plan, but it's way better than the original plan that was submitted by Dominion back in December. So I think that overall that's a win. Duke also submitted an IRP, and that's at the Public Service Commission right now. This has a lot more natural gas, and there's a lot of questions that people are pushing back on this plan with, specifically tied to stranded assets with these natural gas facilities. So that's all I have today. I thought I'd kind of keep the slides short and sweet, but I'm open to any questions, comments, concerns.
What was the House bill?
For pyrolysis, that
I think the Senate, wasn't it? What was the House? There was a House bill that you said you weren't very concerned about because it wasn't really moving.
Yeah, I can look up that number in a second. But yeah, that House bill is around incineration, and it increases the allowed amount of incineration in South Carolina. I think it also has the same provisions for pyrolysis.
And you don't see that moving?
Yes, so I think that was a big win that we saw. We had our executive director testify in the subcommittee hearing about it, and I think a lot of the co-sponsors removed their name from the bill, and we don't really see it moving. It's not impossible that it could move, but yeah, I'll get you that bill number in 1 second.
Okay, no rush. You can email it to me later. It's fine. Anybody else have any questions for John? Okay, well, John, we appreciate your coming and giving us the legislative update. It's always good to know what's going on in the State House. And
Thanks, yeah, and I'll put my email in the chat if anyone has any other follow-up questions.
perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Clean Cool Charleston County with Mackenzie Kelly and Kenneth Holton.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen.
Perfect.
Is everybody able to see?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so thank you so much for having us here today. We're really excited to talk about our program and the ways we practice sustainability right now, currently, and also moving forward. So you're probably wondering, what does clean, cool have to do with pavement management, and how are we being clean and cool, and what impacts our roads actually have with air quality? So that takes us into our agenda. And I think it's important to do an overview and an understanding of the background of our pavement management program here in Charleston County with our Public Works Department and what we're doing now with pavement preservation. And then moving forward with our pilot project we have upcoming with pavement technology with titanium dioxide, AKA the smog eating roads, that have been shown in testing to show it's clean with reducing the mobile source air emissions and also cool by reducing the heat island effect. Ken and I have been working together for a long time, but specifically with this pilot project, maybe 2 years, you'd say, Ken. So we're excited to finally get this moving.
I agree. Yeah, it's a long time coming.
Yeah, we're excited. So a quick background of our program, you'll see on the map here, these are all the roads in our pavement management database. This includes not only the county, but all municipal and state secondary roadways. So essentially, this is every paved public road in Charleston County with the exception of your major highways or interstates, so not 26 or 17. And we have about 1,800 centerline miles of road that we maintain. And as you can tell or guess by the map, the green shows the good roads, yellow is fair, and red is poor. So talking about the life cycle of a road, you'll see on this pavement deterioration curve, as it ages, it becomes more costly for us to repair it. So a brand new road, preservation treatments can cost you $4,000, $8,000 per lane mile, and then it works its way down to upwards of $200,000 per lane mile. The county used to have this worst first approach where we'd only pave the roads that were in the worst condition. And we quickly realized this was not cost effective and not making sufficient process to improve the overall network health of our system. So we started using pavement preservation. We wanted to preserve or use these preventative maintenance work to delay the aging process by protecting the road from sun and water. It helps increase the life of the road while decreasing the overall life cycle costs to maintain it. And our goal is to treat these roads in good condition to maintain them at a good condition, rather than letting them fall into a category that requires more expensive and robust treatment. So we're able to touch more roads with a less amount of money. So I did talk about full depth reclamation being our most expensive and robust treatment, but we do practice sustainability here as well. We reuse 100% of the existing material. So you'll see here, we're pulverizing this old asphalt and mixing it down with cement about a foot into the ground to establish a new strong base and support system for the new roadway. And since it is a brand new road, life cycle extension of at least 25 years. The next majority of our program goes towards resurfacing. And we used to use a hot mix asphalt and we switched to warm mix asphalt using a product by Ingevity, local company. They have an additive called Evotherm, which lowers the asphalt temperature and leads to a longer lasting road since the asphalt isn't heated up and loses that oxidation in the process. According to Ingevity, compared to hot mix asphalt, it reduces the environmental emissions, as you'll see here, significantly, and also the fumes in the work environment to not only our crews putting the asphalt down, but the residents and the community around the roads. This improved workability allows for highly recycled mixes to be added in. So when we pave our roads, a lot of times we have to mill up the road to line up with the new curb and gutter to get the drainage working appropriately. So we use that, or our paving contractors actually use that milled up asphalt and take it back and recycle it, RAP, so recycled asphalt pavement, or RAS, recycled asphalt singles, into their mix. And Sanders Brothers, which is one of our main paving contractors, they're using about 20% recycled asphalt in their mixes with a Surface C, which is our main asphalt surface course, and then about 15% recycled material in their Surface B. Microsurfacing is another pavement preservation technique that we use. According to roadresource.com, it reduces the life cycle cost as much as 25%. And this is all in comparison to hot mix usual resurfacing. Reduces greenhouse gases by 44% and energy use by 54%. It reduces raw material by 35% and adds an additional 6 to 8 years of life to the roadway. Asphalt rejuvenator is another pavement preservation technique we use with a product called Reclamite. It's used to not only seal the road and protect it from sun and water. Ken, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's the only rejuvenator product that actually penetrates into the asphalt to enhance that asphalt binder. And it gives the life extension of about 5 years when it's treated. We are currently at Charleston County using it at roads that are about age 3 and again at year 8. Ken's going to kind of dive a little bit deeper into rejuvenator since they are the ones that put it down for us. So he has a little bit more details later on.
All right, you ready? Go ahead.
Keep going.
I'll let you go ahead. I know we're going to dive a little deeper in a slide or two. So.
Okay. So I'm actually going to turn it over to Ken here. So we have a new product with Asphalt Rejuvenator, which is a product we're already using, and then additional benefits with titanium dioxide. So I'll turn it over to you, Ken.
All right. So, Mackenzie was kind of giving you a lot of information about how we lengthen the life cycle when we do all these different preservation techniques. And the truck that's sitting in front of you is our biggest hammer in our personal toolbox as a company. This is our flagship, basically process. But all the numbers that Mackenzie was kind of giving you an extension or a reduction in, the different air pollution type areas of CO2es and things like that. If you noticed in all her pictures, there were not very many trucks. So she's reusing materials instead of trucking off-site and trucking back on-site materials. She's just reusing all those materials. And what we found is when our company was formed back in 1972, the owner of our company, Colin Durante, his father was a city engineer in Cleveland, Ohio. And Colin decided he wanted to be an engineer, but as he started to get close to doing his, decide what path to take for work, he decided to help cities instead of become that city engineer in his father's footsteps. And he started looking at ways to lengthen the life cycle, to be a benefit to those cities. And Reclamite is how he came into have a business with these different agencies. He's worked all around the world with Department of Defense and the different agencies. About every year, he's very busy with the APWA, American Public Works Association, and other associations. But he's always trying to be on the cutting edge of learning, understand what's happening. And he ran across titanium dioxide and realized that this could benefit the process that we were already doing and enhance it to reduce the NOx coming off of roads and the solar reflective index of the roads. Those are a couple of the biggies. So we're getting, just by adding titanium dioxide, which is a photocatalyst, we're able to increase the solar reflective index of the roadway. We're able to neutralize the NOx gas. It basically, we'll talk about this a little bit further. It's very fiscally responsible because it's less than $2 a square yard. We move fast. We return quickly to traffic, so we're not interfering with people for very long. And we also oxidize other VOCs, molds, viruses, et cetera, that come into the zone of that roadway. So if you think about an area of influence, just kind of think in your mind about a tunnel surrounding the roadway, about 20 feet high and about 20 feet outside the edges. So just kind of picture a tunnel going down the road. The titanium dioxide is exciting, the UV light excites the titanium dioxide. The titanium dioxide throws an electron, which bombards with moisture. It turns a hydroxyl radical free, and that actually begins to break down the reduction of the different materials that are in that zone. So NOx, SOx, VOCs, molds, virus, et cetera. And that's pretty much what we're looking at. We just basically retrofit a road. So Mackenzie, we'll let you continue.
Okay, so I wanted to talk briefly about our pilot project and what we're planning. So when we're looking at Charleston, we wanted to find a neighborhood or an area that could really benefit from this product. So we specifically are focusing in on the Rosemont area, which we all know has its own environmental concerns, especially being next to the interstate. And then we're also looking on the other side, roads near Irving Avenue. So we'll be doing the roads surrounding this. And let's explain why. So Rosemont, again, surrounded by the interstate, continued growth and congestion. You can see here one of the roads on Rosemont directly behind it. I believe this is the Port Access Road being constructed, or another extension off 26. And you can see right in their backyard is the interstate. According to South Carolina DOT data, there's about 91,000 cars that pass daily. So it's heavy traffic right on their back doorstep. And then why did we pick Irving Avenue? So South Carolina DHEC actually has an air monitor over here that is currently grabbing data specifically on the nitrogen oxides. So we'll be able to have pre and post treatment data. Realistically, we're not really expecting much of a sway in that data, and that's because there's too many other factors that play a role here, such as your traffic count, your wind speed and direction, that can influence the data here. And also, at a large scale, we're only treating a small amount of roads, but we are curious to see if anything does pop up. Ken's going to talk a little bit later about the testing they've done with Texas A&M with titanium dioxide and give more data here. So with that, let's dive deeper into titanium dioxide.
All right, so if you see these two pictures here, the material that Charleston County is currently using, that's the pink material on the right. It's called Reclamite. That is a penetrant. It goes into the roadway and it renews the asphalt binder by replacing the maltine fraction. That's the parts of the asphalt binder that cause it to be flexible and adhesive. So we're actually reintroducing those back into the roadway. The material on the left, that's our titanium dioxide material. It is actually yellowish in color. So I wanted to show you both materials. When it penetrates the road, it has the same maltine fractions. It penetrates the road, but it draws titanium dioxide down into the roadway, retrofitting the surface and in an in-depth amount of titanium dioxide that'll, as the surface wears away, you actually continue to have more titanium dioxide that releases and shows up. So the next slide. There we go. So what are maltines? When we look at an asphalt roadway, and a lot of us take it for granted, but next time you look down at the road, you will see that 95% of that roadway is some kind of aggregate. It's a sand, it's a small rock or a larger rock. About 5% of that roadway is the binder that holds all that rock together. That binder does age over time, and the maltines are the fraction of that binder that actually keep it flexible and adhesive. So that's what we're doing. We're just putting back in the light oils and resins. And you can go on, Mackenzie. So what does that do? It slows the deterioration of the road down. So if you look at the curve on the left, that's a typical asset deterioration curve. It accelerates over time, but this one actually is for the roadway. Mackenzie showed you how they do preventive maintenance, kind of the little sawtooth pattern there. When we put the rejuvenation material in as a preventive maintenance, it actually extends the life of the road to the first preventive maintenance. You get a better road longer in life. The graph on the right are actually results from Charleston County. The red line on the top shows how hard and brittle the road is. The harder and the more brittle the road is, the steeper the deterioration curve. So you can see year 1, 2, 3, you're kind of linear. Year 7, it's starting to go exponential. It's going to go exponential. And if you look back at the curve on the left, that shows a steepening of the deterioration. With the Reclamite material, we influence the roadway like the green line. So we continue to keep that road a little bit youthful much longer. All right, Mackenzie. In real life, this is a 20-year-old road, has not had any preservation done to it, just was paved. And this is the cracking pattern that you would see if you look closely. This is actually from a high-res van survey. And we have on this exact same roadway, which was resurfaced in 2000. In 2004, we put our material called Reclamite. And this is the cracking pattern that shows up in 20 years, but after that 16 years of Reclamite, one treatment. So it's significantly less deterioration. It's a much better condition for the public. And again, you don't have to resurface it nearly as long. So this is just an example of a much slower aging if you do proper preventive maintenance. And this is what the roadway looks like if you were to go to Google. Usually you can't see certain characteristics, but you can see that area that Mackenzie's pointing out. That's the Reclamite treated area. The rest of the roadway is untreated. You can see the moisture gets inside that roadway. It causes the asphalt to strip. The cracking pattern just gets more exaggerated. So that's just a one real life example that you can actually see if you go to Google. Our company, again, we're very interested in helping agencies out, so we try to keep on the cutting edge as much as we can. During COVID, some agencies are seeing fiscal constraints, and preventive maintenance and preservation is very, very high on the priority list. You're not going to be able to do a lot of the $200 per square yard treatments, but you will be able to do the $1 per square yard and slow down deterioration. And then by adding the titanium dioxide, we just get so much more mileage out of the same process. These are some results. So we'd love for you guys, if you want to come visit our job site while we're working. It's not the best area, but we're welcome to have you come out. These are the results when we go to Texas A&M that we have seen. So we have a partner in Texas A&M. Heat island, if you're familiar with the heat island effect, UV light penetrates the roadway, heats up, and then as you cool off in the evening, you actually have this heating or heat island effect around roadways and hard surfaces, buildings, etc. The control sample, that tells you the solar reflective index. This is a measurement of heat island of a pavement. It's darker in color to gray, and you're going to get an SRI of somewhere between 10, 11, 12, maybe even down as low as 5 on some cases. But when we put the titanium dioxide in, we're going to get up into the 30s, 40, maybe even above. And if I can focus your attention over to the green credits, the LEED, US GBC for LEED, they're asking you to get at least 29. And that's exactly the same thing for the American Public Works Association, Institute for Sustainable Infrastructure in Vision credit. So we're going to make all of your roads heat island reducing roads just by adding this one material in. And if we go to the next slide, we're going to show you the NOx reduction. So we take these cores, we send them off to Texas A&M, and untreated roads, so that's the control sample line, you get a negligible NOx reduction. With the treated sample, we're getting anywhere between 30 and 40%. In some cases with concrete, we've been up to 60% reduction in NOx. The way that this is tested is it's a test chamber. We put a known quantity of NOx across the surface, lights off so that we can get the measurement stable. Then we turn the UV lights on and we see the reduction that happens just from that small core. So that is the way that we're testing it. And that's one reason we're controlling all the variables, wind speed, variable amounts of material, so we can actually see and quantify what we're getting result-wise. And Alcoa has done some calculations, and we just kind of follow in on this. If we treat 1 mile of roadway with titanium dioxide, according to Alcoa, that's equivalent to planting a 20-acre forest in the amount of photocatalysis that's going to happen. So if you think about the thought of having congestion of traffic, and we really want to reduce the impact that traffic is having on our environment, people, not everyone's just going to go buy a different vehicle, a lower polluting vehicle. So this is one way of retrofitting the existing infrastructure to reduce the impact of today's vehicles on the roadway. And the next slide, roads really do act like forests. The plant, that's our original UV catalyst. And today we can get that out of our roadways. So thank you. We'll take any questions. This is actually the process happening. That's in Raleigh, North Carolina. Pretty good sized project we had last year up there.
That is fascinating. Does anybody have any questions for Ken or for Mackenzie? All right, I have a question.
All right.
How, can you tell me, and if you don't know, that's fine, but do you know like what percentage of the roads, is this going to be like a all county thing eventually, or?
So right now we're treating all of our roads that we recently resurfaced with Reclamite. We're doing this pilot project to kind of see what data we get in our roads, which we're very optimistic based on what Cary, North Carolina, Orlando, Greenville has done a project to have our own data and do our own pilot project that we can take to council and see if they'll let us move forward or.
That's fantastic.
You know,
Does any-
one of the things that we are looking at is, since this is much bigger than just a roadway project, it's there to influence more the environment side of the house. We are investigating different avenues for additional funding. So potentially, you know, we've kind of started cracking the door for CMAQ funding. If you guys are familiar with that, congestion mitigation, air quality, DOT divvies that out from the Federal Highway Administration. Charleston County doesn't get any dedicated funding, so it's a little harder to get for these things, but there are other funding sources out there, and we are working all the way up to FHWA, EPA, MPO levels and things like that.
Anybody else have any questions?
I have a question. Is funding the biggest obstacle that you guys are facing right now in rolling this out kind of across, I guess, in bigger projects across the U.S.?
Go ahead, Ken.
For us as a company dealing with folks all over, you know, it's such a new concept to retrofit an existing infrastructure with something that seems so simple. It seems that people gravitate more to wanting to drive a Tesla to reduce their personal emissions from their vehicle. Solar reflective index, people really think about albedo. So a white road, that's going to cause you a lot of glare and cause some cleaning and things like that. Not that it can't work, but you know, this is something that you can't see. It's in the roadway. It's like taking a bunch of little tiny diamonds and putting them in. It's like little faceted titanium dioxide. It's actually more faceted than diamonds. And it redirects that solar energy so it doesn't penetrate straight down into the road. We've found that retrofitting this way is actually the most effective way to get the material into the surface of at least asphalt and concrete. If you blend it in at like the mixing plant, you have to put it through the whole strata, and it gets blinded by the process. So this is a way that it keeps it from being blinded. So funding, I'm going to say yes, that's an issue. If there was funding, a lot of people would probably be jumping on it, and we would be dying trying to keep up. So anyhow, we're definitely hoping that funding will begin to, you know, show up.
Great. Are there any other questions?
I just want to add, I don't know if I said it, but we're aiming to do this project mid-March, April timeframe. So if anybody's interested in coming out, please send me an email, mkelly@charlestoncounty.org. We can invite you to come out.
Awesome. And would you also put that in the chat for us, Kenzie? Thanks. All
Thank
right.
you, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much.
That was really interesting. I'm excited to hear more about it when you're finished with the pilot. We are going to move on to solar power, looking forward to a bright future with Brian Burdell from Santee Cooper.
Hey, give me 1 second. I'm going to get this window up. Okay, do you guys see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'm Brian Burdell. I work for Santee Cooper, I'm an engineer in the Renewable Energy Department, and it's been a pretty exciting time for us. We've got a bright future with a lot of renewables that we're planning on to add to our system. It's been a little bit of a crazy time, you know, as John mentioned earlier. You know, the legislator has been looking at Santee Cooper and what to do with us, and so it's been an interesting few years to say the least. But we got a new greener portfolio that I'm happy that we're going forward with. So today I just want to talk a little bit about, I'll do a quick overview of the technology, just for folks that aren't familiar with it. We'll look at where Santee Cooper was and where we're going as far as our solar projects and portfolio. I want to highlight some of our projects, and then we'll discuss some of the future plans at the end. So just a quick overview if you're not familiar with how solar power works. Basically, the sunlight hits one of these panels. These panels are a semiconductor, actually made of two different materials to have a positive and negative charge on there. Then once that sunlight hits it, those electrons can become free and they start moving around, so we can create a current. With that, we can attach a load to it, like this light bulb. The electrons will move through it, and you have power that way. Now, to point out, the panels themselves only produce DC power. DC power is like the power that you have in your car. You run your lights and that sort of stuff off your car battery. So we have to convert that DC power to AC power. That's done through an inverter. This is a typical setup you'd see at a house if someone had solar panels on their house. Having an inverter right here. So once that power is created, that DC power, it goes to the inverter. It's converted to AC, and you can use that into your appliances. I don't know if anyone had one of these back in the day, but I remember you could buy a small inverter to plug into your cigarette lighter in your car, and you could plug an outlet into it. It's the same concept, that inverter. So a little bit about Santee Cooper's projects and kind of where we started. One of our first projects that we had, and it was a program actually, and I'll talk a little bit more about it, but it was a green power school program that we did throughout the entire state. These are schools, middle schools, where we placed panels there, and it became part of the school's curriculum, and the sixth grade teachers taught this stuff, energy conservation and solar energy, different forms of energy within the science program. So it was a good outreach program. We did it through the co-ops, and that's how we were able to reach, a lot of schools throughout the state. Then looking at these solar PV projects, these are smaller projects that we first started doing when we were looking into solar. They're small arrays. They were usually partnerships with a school or some type of other entity, like a research entity. But those first few projects were good for us to learn just about what solar can do, and also collecting the data to look at that information to see how it reacts. How are we going to adapt to putting this on our system was kind of the big question. But as we started doing some of those smaller projects, we started getting a little bit bigger and bigger. As you can see down at the end, we've got a couple small utility scale projects, and I'll talk about those in a little while. But then also Santee Cooper does have some retail solar programs where we offer, our customers the opportunity to put solar on their home, and we have incentives and a rebate program for that as well, along with the conservation of energy type program for energy efficiency appliances and things like that. So this is just want to give y'all a quick list of all the solar schools that we have out there across the state, and depending on where you're from, you might notice one of the schools, and that's the cover there of the education program, and the kids are racing their solar cars. There's a bunch of hands-on kits for them to do, and they get real into it, and it really is a good program. They have the teachers come out twice a year to Santee Cooper, or once a year, I should say, excuse me, and have a conference, and they go over the materials and update the education program each year as they go along. And the kids also can view their solar production on the internet. So they can actually look up, and it's, you know, kind of part of the curriculum. They can look up to see how much it's producing, you know, in real time. So it's pretty neat. It's a neat program. Now that solar has kind of becoming somewhat of a norm now, it's lost some of its, you know, wow factor, I should say, but nonetheless, the kids always seem to enjoy it. So just a quick highlight of some of the smaller projects we did early on. This is one of the solar school projects. This is actually, I think, the first project we did, and this is on Coastal Carolina University's bus stop pavilions. This is the Grand Strand solar station that we have at one of our facilities in Myrtle Beach. And at the time, we installed this in 2011. It's a 311 kW system, and believe it or not, it was the largest solar array in the state. So that's we've come very far, because now you're looking at projects that are, you know, above 75 megawatts. So I mean, just a huge big difference from where we were 10 years ago. These are the panels on top of the rooftop. These two are the same project. This is another small demonstration project that we did at Center for Advanced Technology in Chapin, South Carolina. And I just wanted to point this one out too, because it may look funny, like these are kind of looking at themselves, but this is actually a dual axis tracking system. So it tracks the sun as it moves across the horizon during the day. And the reason why we built this system with the partnership with the school, for their kids to learn about it, it's like a satellite school where kids that are interested in science and stuff like that go there for half of their day, or maybe 2 or 3 days out of the week, and really dig deep into some of the science stuff and engineering. But we wanted to collect some data on a stationary panel facing south versus a dual axis tracking panel, just to kind of see what differences there were, how much more energy, you know, you receive throughout the day, and things of that nature. So moving to some of the bigger projects, this is Colleton Solar Farm down in Walterboro, South Carolina. And it's a 2.5 megawatt size array. And it's made up of a single axis tracking array, which you see right here. And this is a fixed axis, so it doesn't move. The fixed axis always face south to get maximum amount of energy from the sun. Now these panels are actually, they rotate from east to west, but they're flat. So they start out just pointing to the east, and they rotate, and then they're going to be facing the west at the end of the day. So again, we built this project to learn about both technologies, you know, see what kind of differences there were. You get more energy out of this single axis tracking system, but during certain times of year, you actually get more energy or more capacity out of this because it's tilted at a certain degree, at that optimal degree, like say in the spring or fall, when the sun is not completely overhead, you'll actually get more energy out of this array than you will for this one. This one in the summertime will get more because the sun is more overhead. And since these panels just rotate, you know, east to west flat, you know, it's the sun's beaming right down on them. So you'll get more energy overall. So this is our Bell Bay solar farm, and this is in Bucksport, South Carolina. The interesting thing about this this project is we opted to orient the panels to the southwest. Typically, you'd orient them to the south because that's you get the maximum amount of energy output from them. But the reason why we moved these to the southwest was to get more energy late in the day. So as the sun's starting to set in the horizon, it's further to the west. So we wanted to capture some of that energy as the sun's going down. So this would correspond with our load, our demand on the electric grid during that time. In the summertime, you have high loads in the afternoon when air conditioners are running, when folks are getting home and that sort of stuff. So you got a really high load of demand. And so we kind of wanted to, we did this project again as another test project to see how this corresponds to the load profile that we see from our customers. And we found that it does help reduce some of the peak load during that time. And so maybe in the future, we may opt to build some of our larger farms that we're planning on to face them in the Southwest, so we'll have some more energy during those times. This is Jameson Solar Farm. Some of you guys may have seen this. You can see it from I-26 going to Columbia from Charleston, or Columbia to Charleston. It's right there in Orangeburg. It's a standard fixed tilt facing south. But the interesting thing about this project is we opted to plant native plants at this site. We did that to promote native polymers and have more of a native species established at the site. The science is, once these plants are established, you have less maintenance because you don't have to mow it as much, and also it has a deeper root system than if you were to plant a grass. So it's supposed to be able to hold water better, and you have less runoff. This was a pilot project that we did with the help of DNR, and Clemson helped us with it as well, on getting the native plants and everything we needed. And it's really taken off. I wish I had a picture of what it looked like now, but it's been growing for 2 years now. And the first year we were pretty worried because it didn't really look like much, but it takes about 3 years from what we were understanding to really establish these plants, because they take a while. They actually grow down and grow the root system before they really start growing upwards above the soil. But it was about almost chest high in the summertime when I went and checked on it, and we had to mow it down, do an annual mowing. And I tell you what, I couldn't walk around there without about 100 moths and butterflies flying around. It was amazing. It really, I'm a believer now that it does establish those habitats. Unfortunately, I saw a few snakes there too, so you got to be careful while you're walking out there, especially during the growing season when it gets pretty high. And we have to continuously maintain it as well, just so it doesn't get too high and start covering the panels, which will reduce some of the energy output. So this is the last solar farm we built down in Myrtle Beach, Runway Solar Farm. And this is standard south-facing stationary array. The interesting thing about this piece of property we leased from the Air Force, actually. It's right behind the airport. And this was an old Air Force landfill. And so nothing could be built on this. There could be the ground could not be disturbed or penetrated. So what we ended up doing for this site was using these concrete ballast, which you can kind of see right here, instead of driving down piles to build the racking to put these panels on. So it was interesting. It had its own challenges. It was a little bit more labor. Even the security fence around it is on concrete blocks because we couldn't put fencing in the ground. But the project turned out well. It's up and running, and it's a nice visible project right there on Kings Avenue in Myrtle Beach. And so, yeah, I just wanted to kind of touch on our future plans. Santee Cooper is really going to increase their solar generation mix. We're looking at 1,500 megawatts at least of solar that we're adding to our system. With that solar comes its own challenges because obviously when the sun's not shining, you don't produce any energy. And also there's variability when there's cloud covers and storms. So we're looking at also some of this battery storage to help us with that variability, to help us at times where we see our solar drop out and then come back up due to weather events. As we add all this solar onto our system, we will be closing down one of our coal fire stations. That's going to be Winyon, Georgetown. And so that's set from 2023 to 2028. We'll be shutting that down. Once we do that, and there's probably going to be some other stations that will be shut down too in the future, we're looking at our CO2 emissions dropping by about a half, if not more, by 2030. And so currently we're in that first phase of 500 megawatts of solar. And those contracts are ready and they'll be breaking ground hopefully this year. And it may be a year or two before they start actually coming on our system. But we will be going out for more solar in the future. So it's an exciting time in renewables. It's been a busy time for me, but it's really been fun so far. Yeah, it's just a quick little map of all of our projects. And that's about it. Sure, someone has questions, so I'll be happy to take any questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Brian? I'm very excited about the increase in solar in South Carolina. It seems like it's been a long time coming, but it's moving along.
It really has. It's been a long time coming, and I tell people that a lot. And you know, the price of it is very competitive now. So that used to be a big driver, and a driver for other states in the country were mandated renewable portfolios. South Carolina does not have a RPS, renewable portfolio standard. We may in the future, but so that was driving that at some locations. And then obviously just the way that the country where you're located geographically, there's better regions for solar resources than others. Right.
I see you have a wind turbine up there in Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, that's a little small demonstration project we did years ago. It's a little 2 kW small wind turbine we used to collect some data. Back in 2003, I believe, Santee Cooper, along with a lot of folks from the state and a couple other utilities and the co-ops, all came together and really looked at wind resources in South Carolina. It was a joint effort for a lot of folks in South Carolina, and did a big study, got some wind mapping done to really see, you know, the economic feasibility of doing some sort of project or a pilot project. Unfortunately, we didn't get the big project we wanted to, but we are actively tracking that. And I see, you know, maybe in the next 5 to 10 years, something happening in South Carolina off the coast. North Carolina, Virginia, they're starting to do those things. Virginia's gotten real heavy in it. They're planning 500 megawatts off their coast. A big project that's coming up now, and the East Coast in general is really starting to see some development.
That's great. Does anybody else have any questions for Brian? Okay, well, Brian, appreciate you coming and talking with us today. It was
No problem. Easy crowd. Thank you.
all righty. And with that, we're going to move on to our Bureau of Air Quality update. And that is with Renee and Amy. I'm going to
Hi there.
share my screen. Give me just a second. Come on. There we go. And I'll get rid of this. Can everybody see my screen? Can anybody see my screen?
We can see it.
Excellent.
Okay, can you hear us now?
Yes.
Yay. Well, hello. This is Amy Curran and Renee Madden. We work for South Carolina Bureau of Air Quality, and we're here today to talk about some of the air pollutants that we monitor for and some of the projects that South Carolina is currently involved in. Next slide. The criteria pollutants were originally passed back in 1970. The Clean Air Act came into being and Congress created EPA. Since then, it's been updated in 1977 and again in 1990. And the chart here shows our 7 criteria pollutants that we monitor for. And of course, we also monitor for other things besides just this. The common pollutants or criteria pollutants, as we call them, are carbon monoxide, lead, nitrogen dioxide, ozone, particulate matter, and sulfur dioxide. EPA sets these limits every 5 years or so, and they decide on the design values, and the design values are put in place by EPA, and the states are the ones that are responsible for running the monitors. Next slide. So this is a map of our state and all our monitors. We have 3 areas that are what they call bi-state areas, down in the Myrtle Beach area, in the Augusta area, and also up in the Charlotte area. The colored areas are the MSAs, and as you can see, there's the Charleston, North Charleston is the light blue down there. When we monitor, we set up monitoring sites, and they're almost always set up in MSAs. We do have a rural site out in Chesterfield, but generally it's done because most pollutants are caused by either population or heavy industry. So if you'll notice in the Charleston area, right now we have Monk's Corner. Whoops, can we go back? Can we go back? There we go. Yeah, in Charleston area, we have Monk's Corner, which monitors for ozone. The Jenkins Avenue Fire Station has PM10, SO2, and NO2. The what we call CPW and FAA, which are in the neck, they monitor for PM 2.5, and those will eventually be combined into the North Charleston Fire Station, which is where the STAR is. And then we have our Irving Street site, which is a temporary site, but it also monitors for PM 2.5, SO2, and NO2. And then last, we have our Cape Romaine, which is a Class 1 site, and it monitors for PM 2.5, ozone, SO2, and NO2. Okay, next slide. First, we'll look at the ozone design values. These graphs they run 2010 to 2019. And as you can see, we are below the standard. The current standard for ozone was established in 2015, and then they reviewed it in 2020, they retained it. For ozone, the standard is at 0.070 parts per million or 70 parts per billion. The orange line is the Charleston line, and as you can see, it's very low. And fortunately, because of all the air from the ocean coming out. It keeps the Charleston area pretty clean. Okay, next slide. So our next pollutant is particulate matter. There are two types of particulate matter. There's either PM 2.5, which is the stuff that can get down in your lungs and cause breathing issues. And then there's PM 10, which is the larger particulate matter. And as you can see, we're also down below the standard here. This standard was put in place in 2006, and then it was retained in 2012 and 2020. And Charleston is the yellow line at the very bottom. Next slide, please. And also PM 2.5 has an annual standard, and it was set in 2012 and it's been retained in 2020. And once again, Charleston is the orange line on the bottom, and we're below the standard in PM 2.5. Next standard, next slide, please. So this is sulfur dioxide, and it has a 1 hour standard. It was established in 2010 by EPA, and then it was retained in 2019. So the level is 75 parts per billion. And as you can see, everybody is below the standard, and Charleston is the gray line that's about third from the bottom. Next slide. Now this is carbon monoxide. It has two standards, has a 1 hour and an 8 hour standard. And it was set back in 1985, and it's been retained. Last time it was retained was 2011. Due to its low concentrations, now we only monitor for carbon monoxide in the Columbia area. But at one time, Charleston did have a CO monitor, and you can see back, there's one dot around 2010. And so it was, as you can see, very low. So we're well below the standard. Next slide. And then this is the second carbon monoxide standard, an 8 hour. And as you can see, the little green dot down there is the Charleston monitor back in 2010. And we are also very low for carbon monoxide. Next slide. So for NO2, we have a 1 hour standard. And it's set at 100 parts per billion. And the Charleston is the line on the bottom, which is the green line. So we are below for nitrogen dioxide. Next slide. And then also nitrogen dioxide has an annual design value. And once again, the orange line at the bottom is Charleston's. And the standard for the annual design value is 53 parts per billion. So we are below the standards on all of our pollutants, and some of them we are very, very far below. So we're very happy with that. Next slide. So now Amy is going to tell you about some of the projects that South Carolina is working in.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Okay, sorry. I was trying to see if I can get the map. There we go. He's moving. Okay, it's moving. I'm Amy Curran, and I work in the Bureau of Air Quality, and my main function here at work is education and outreach for the Bureau of Air Quality. So today I'm just going to go over a couple of our programs, some that I'm the coordinator for, some that I'm not, but I can definitely get in touch with the coordinator if anybody has any questions or wants to do any of these projects. Okay, next slide. Can I move this thing over so it's out of my way? Sorry, I was trying to move something on my screen. Okay, I got it. So anyway, the Breathe Better program I am the coordinator for that one. And it's an anti-idling campaign for schools and businesses. And all of these actually are sustainable and support sustainability. And the programs are to support people changing their habits, for the environment. So anyway, going back to that, Breathe Better is an anti-idling campaign for schools and businesses. And then the Green Ribbon Schools is a U.S. Department of Education recognition program for schools that are making progress in environmental and educational initiatives. And I'm going to get into all these a little bit more in a second. The Diesel Emissions Reduction Act grant program is one that the U.S. EPA runs and administers 4 components of that grant for a national clean diesel campaign. And then the Radon program is a program that we promote for people to check their homes for radon, because anybody could have radon in their home. And the only way to know is to check it to see if there's any radon gas in the house. Next slide, please. So here are just some pictures of Breathe Better program. So there's really 2 parts of it. There's the Breathe Better for businesses, which they get signs. And then also if somebody is interested and they go to the website for, it's still under Breathe Better, they both are. But the businesses one has a list of things that businesses can do to help reduce idling around the campus. Okay, next slide. So just to go in detail a little quick about them. So as we know, idling wastes fuel, and it also produces harmful pollutants for human health. So for the school, the children, their lungs are still developing, and so it's really a big deal at the school. And the schools get anti-idling signs, and then I work with the teachers for a campaign to reduce idling. And it's focused on protecting the public on the health. Excuse me, let me back up here. Is to protect public health on the school campuses and also at local business campuses. And it's a great way. There's a lot of resources on the Breathe Better page, and you can use any of those or contact me if you need anything, if you're interested in it, and we can get started on your campus, whether it's school or business. Okay, next slide, please. So this just goes in a little more detail about the business side. A couple of things, ask yourself, do you have high volume of daily visitors? Okay, now the slide just went away.
Sorry, there's a lot of effects in there that for some reason.
Oh no. I don't remember putting them in there. That's crazy. I don't have my slides in front of me.
Okay, let me try to get back to the.
I can wing it maybe to get to this page. I don't even remember what was in front of me though.
Sorry, I'm trying to get back to.
I know, I'm sorry. Wow, okay. I'll have to talk quicker before they move to the next one, I guess. Is there any way you can go back more than that, or it just won't do it?
It doesn't look like it's
want to do that. Wow, okay, then.
See if I can do it this way.
Oh yeah, if I can just see those slides, I'm good.
All right, I think we did.
Yep, we're on that one.
Okay.
That one right there. Yeah, I guess I have to be quicker. So if your business has a high volume of visitors, vehicles, trucks, vans, buses, things like that, the Breathe Better program would be a good place for you to put us to enroll in it, and we could put some anti-idling signs in, and then, or y'all can put them in and let me know about it, and then we can take it from there as far as what are the things can your business offer to the employees to reduce air pollution. Okay, now we can go to the next one. So here's how you sign up. You go to the Breathe Better page. Like I said, the address is at the bottom. And then you just enroll, and it's going to ask you just a few questions about your business and then how many signs you want. And we'll send you the signs, and then you'll be on your way. And we also have posters of the different colors of the flags that you can put up. We put them up in the reception area here at DHEC, and we get the forecast and put up the flag that represents the forecast. And you can have those at your business too. I can get you those too. Okay, next one. All right, I'm going to go into a little bit more about the Green Ribbon Schools. This is for high schools, elementary schools, middle schools. It's also for colleges and universities. And what we do is work with them to come up with what progressive steps that they're taking to help the environment and education. And these are the three pillars that we're trying to address are reducing environmental impacts and costs, improved health and wellness, and effective environmental and sustainability education. And those are the three main things we work on with the schools when they're turning in an application. Okay, next slide. So far, we have Cape Remain Environmental Education Charter School in 2020, Furman University in 2020, and then Dutch Fork Elementary School was our very first Green Ribbon School in 2019. We just started doing this in 2019. Next slide. So the DARA grant, I cannot answer questions about this one, but if somebody wants to send anything to me, I can get you an answer. So the money is allocated from the EPA, and it is a competitive grant, and we have received grant money for our people that have applied for it in 2012, 2016, and 2019. And there's a school bus rebate program, and then their tribal grants are also available. The guy that does the DARE grants right now has been reassigned for COVID. Sam Christmas is his name, but he should be back doing this again in June. Doesn't mean you can't do it. We just, this year, Sam's not available to help with it. All right, next slide. Recently, we just did our coalition page, and the coalitions are a network of 6 regional coalitions focused on air quality in the state. And then the advanced program is an EPA program which encourages proactive community. I can't even see what that says because this thing's in the way. This is my fault, not yours. I got it. I moved it. Community-based steps to remain in attainment. So I think Renee went over it. We are in attainment now, and the coalitions can do different things in their areas, and I can work with, and we can do projects to address strategies to reduce air pollution so we stay in attainment. Next slide. And then the Radon program, Leslie Coolidge does that one here. We're working on a poster contest right now. We're going to send that out soon to try to get schools to work with the students and even at home, the ones that are at home, for a Radon poster contest. But as far as the program, there is a website you can go to, and there's a lot of information about Radon, and you can get free test kits. So that's something we encourage people to do. Because like I said earlier, you don't know if radon's in your home unless you test for it. There is just no way to know. Next slide. I think the next slide is just our information. So Renee's information's there. She talked about the monitors, mine, and then Sam Christmas that I mentioned does the DARE grant funding, and Leslie Coolidge who does the Radon funding, or the Radon program, excuse me. So please feel free to reach out to me, and if I need to get someone else involved, I can. But I love doing projects. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much.
Are there any questions? Anybody have any questions?
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing that. I appreciate everybody who came and spoke today. Does anybody have any questions for any of the presenters? All right, well, with that, I guess we'll wrap it up. Thank you, everybody, for attending. And if you have questions, you can email them to me, or if the presenters have put their contact information in the chat, you can email them to them. And I will be happy to forward any information back and forth. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What was the first presentation?
The first presentation, let me.
Are you still on?